Good afternoon. Those were the exact words that once made the markets hold their breath. Well, kind of. And they weren't mine, of course, but they were Jerome Powell's, the chair of Federal Reserve. When he steps up to the microphone, it isn't just what he says that matters, but it's also how he says it. In November 2022, a single press conference with the same stage, the same old numbers about inflation sent the markets tumbling down. Just because his voice was a little bit more firm, a little bit more cautious than what the investors had hoped for. Some months later, in July 2023, the opposite happened. The stocks went up. Why? Because investors saw a bit of optimism and a softer tone. Traders, they hang on to his words, his tones, his phrases, his pauses to kind of decode what that might signal about the future of the economy. And sometimes they react even before the announcement of the policy rate or any policy change, just because what they think his words and his tones might reveal about the future of the country or the economy. And well, that's what my point of the topic, but my point is for the topic today, for the talk today. That emotions in economics, they aren't just noises in the system, they are part of the system. Well, imagine standing there where millions are decoding your body language, analyzing your tone, and I really, really hope you guys are not doing that to me right now because I'm already nervous. But sometimes the smallest of signals, they move us. And something as small as a gift card even. A 15 € gift card gave me 3 days of meals without any stress or guilt. And I spent thousands of euros on a bachelor degree that I sometimes really despise. It's economics, by the way. And studying economics has taught me how, and has rewired my brain to be calculative and almost mathematical about everyday life. It makes me compare my subscription cost, it makes me carry out opportunity cost in everything that I do and compare things and carry trade-off between coffee runs and lectures. It has rewired my brain to have rationality, the guiding influence of my life. And well, in the moment that I used the gift card and the happiness that I got from it felt so much more meaningful, even though it didn't really add up. And sometimes our human tendency to attach this outsized meaning to seemingly small things isn't just personal. It moves markets too. In 1667 and 68, right here in Holland, where we're all gathered today, a single tulip was once sold for many times the annual wage of a skilled craftsman. Some decades later, in 2008, the subprime mortgage crisis, it showed us what happens when people believe house prices will keep on rising forever. And when those beliefs, they were reinforced by structural issues such as complex financial product, risky lending, and a system that just didn't question itself, there was a crisis. The dot-com bubble saw people pour billions into tech startups with little to no revenue, yet they kept on investing. And despite it, fascinatingly enough, that same investment, that same frenzy is what financed a lot of our data centers, our fiber optics, and the internet infrastructure that we all rely on today. The intentions weren't great on that one, but it ended up building something wonderfully remarkable. When we think about emotion in economics, we almost always think of the destructive ones. But emotion doesn't just destroy, it also builds. Take, for example, compassion. In the 1970s, an economist, Muhammad Yunus, he saw the brutal grassroots reality in rural Bangladesh. It was poverty. People were poor not because they were lazy, but because the system didn't trust them. He saw women, especially women, working tirelessly, yet stuck in the cycles of poverty because banks wouldn't lend to them. And well, he lent to them. And according to traditional economists, that idea shouldn't really work, but it did. His empathetic idea of lending to these women turned into this huge system of Grameen banks. And these banks, these microfinance institutions, they empower millions today. They are over continents, and they're across 100 countries, including mine, that's India. And not just compassion, but trust. Traders along Silk Route, they exchange goods across deserts and across landscapes just on mutual trust and reputation. And when we talk about trust in that aspect, also a lot of European trading houses, families like trading, you had long, vast systems of credits flowing just because they believed that a handshake was just as good as a contract. So we have seen these emotions be part of the system, and they are there with us. And not just talking about this trust being in the older times, we have the same thing now. It's just seen a bit differently, and we call it a bit differently, we structure it a bit differently. It's called confidence. Confidence in our institutions, in our governments, in our systems, in our currencies. The dollar, the euro, the rupee, some of them were backed by gold, but they aren't backed by gold anymore. A lot of the value comes from the fact that we believe, we trust that the government will stand behind them, they will keep it strong. The shared belief that everyone else will keep believing that they have value. And a lot of times, amongst many other factors, not to oversimplify it, but banks lend because they trust you will repay them. You work day and night to have money because you think that will have value, that will have some purchasing power later on. So it's all in the system. Now, coming to some old economists, some old people here, Adam Smith, who's often called the father of economics, he also recognized that human behavior, it isn't just motivated by self-interest, but also by benevolence, by sympathy, by moral reasoning. John Maynard Keynes, he's also a famous economist, he talked about animal spirits. The consumer confidence and producer confidence not just being reflections of the economy, but the factors actively shaping them, and he deemed them as self-fulfilling prophecies. The perception that the economy will go on made the economy go on. People lent more, people spent more. On the contrary, fear and pessimism can trigger recessions because people are scared to spend, people are scared to economically do stuff. Not just talking about the old people here, a lot of researchers have also shown that this perspective isn't just old, outdated, and it certainly isn't new either. Many economists say that these emotions, they aren't just fringe ideas that we cling on to, that we think of as solutions for the blind spots in economics. They're actually engraved in our systems. People say that they were the heart of utility theory and our understanding in modern decision making. And when later on our models, they turned and they grew and they changed to have a more rational, more cold decision maker with abstract preferences, no fear, no regret. And well, behavior economics, it changes that, it challenges that image. Many researchers like Lowenstein and Rick, they explain the concept of expected emotions and immediate emotions. Expected emotions being the anticipated feeling we might get if an investment tanks or pays off. The immediate emotions, what we feel right now, in the moment that I'm making the decision. And he says that market behavior cannot just purely be explained by these rational calculations and models. And these two factors, the expected emotions and the immediate emotions, they also play a part in it. And the interaction between cognition and emotion, that is all part of the story. Now, I see some faces, and I think I bored you a little bit, but let's come to a place where we talk to you. Now, I will take a break from theories and ideas, and we'll circle back to us. Let's have an experiment. I want you to imagine that I give you a 10 euro bill and ask you to split it with the person sitting next to you. Well, you can offer them any amount you want, 5 euros, 2 euros, or even 1 euro. But here's the catch. If they reject your offer, none of you get anything. So what would you do? And also, if you were the one receiving the offer, how low of an offer would you accept before you say no? Well, this scenario is called the ultimatum game. And as per traditional economists, both of you should act extremely rationally. You should offer the lowest amount possible, and the other one should just accept it. Because something is better than nothing, right? No, because that's not what most people do. They end up offering something closer to half. And if they offer, say, 2 euros or 1 euro, the other person often rejects it, even if that means they lose money too. And because people would rather accept nothing than accept injustice. Except we care about fairness, we care about dignity. So here's the dilemma. Because we are taught in schools that economics has to assume rationality. We have been taught that humans were rational players, our models are based of that, our policies are made of that. So which is it? Is economics driven by emotions and perceptions, or is it driven by rationality? Well, it is driven by people. And we are everything all at once. We are rational, irrational, unpredictable, speculative, greedy, hungry, desperate, kind, impulsive, ambitious. We're all of it. And we have this duality between us. And the subprime crisis, the Tulip Mania, the ultimatum game, the trade advancements, innovation, everything, the story repeats itself. Every era finds its own belief to stick to, finds its own values that they care about. And we see these contradictions and these paradoxes in our society, in our systems, and in us. Also, in me. That's me. In high school, I started a foundation with a friend to do something for our community, anything, just anything. And we didn't have any money, we didn't have any resources, and it shouldn't have worked, but something did. Maybe my heart was there. On the other side, that's me looking extremely stressed because I was trying to get my professional board pictures taken, and I was trying to have this perfect career, logical, successful path. At 19, by the way. And I see this duality in myself in just the mere act of existing. As a 19-year-old girl from India, I see this duality up close and personal in our society. A nation that has given a prayer before every exam, a prejudice, a superstition, stopping a girl from living her life. We have everything. A nation that has given the world its scientific theories, its art, its philosophies, is also a country that carries systemic poverty, discrimination, oppression. A nation where modern innovation and scientific ancient wisdom, it coexists with the cruelest evils of society. These centuries-old systems of oppression, they were born out of human greed. A system of belief, a culture that values human closeness and human connection, it was also born out of a human emotion. And I see this duality isn't of India alone, it's of the world, it's of humanity, it's of us. We see that the world has seen scientific advancement, we've gone to the moon, we've gone to the space, we have had industries, we have had revolutions, but we also had genocide, war, colonization, exploitation. It's in us, it's a paradox, it's human. Is it right or wrong? We don't know about that. And now, we come to the main part. That this talk shows that humans, we are capable of such catastrophic and marvelous actions, and we inherently, for better or for worse, hold that power to make that systems and be rational players in it. This talk isn't to preach about morality, about good or evil, but to acknowledge our humanness, to acknowledge how intriguing it is that we, such complex creatures, have built systems and processes that so often contradict with what we feel, what we behave, what we stand for. It's to acknowledge that our emotions, they aren't just isolated, they bleed into systems. They crash markets, they build societies, they determine what the world's going to look like for everyone. They decide who lives, who survives, who thrives, and who doesn't make it. We aren't just points on a graph, and our actions aren't just shifts on a curve. They impact real people in real time, in real life. So, I will end by saying, maybe economics does drive how I behave and what I feel, but sometimes my emotions are also what drives the economy. Thank you.